Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. It is my pleasure to introduce Suzanne Gray, who's a career and franchise coach. Suzanne has been coaching people in career transition since 2005. Her area of expertise is clients exploring self-employment and franchises. Suzanne walks clients through a process to clarify their unique personal goals and vision while educating clients about business ownership. She has helped hundreds of people find their path. Suzanne has what is known as a portfolio career. She will explain what is meant by that during her workshop today. In addition to her coaching practice, Suzanne gives back to her community. She has served as chair, vice chair, and member of the planning board, as well as chair of the economic committee in her hometown of Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire. Suzanne also co-founded and facilitated Career Transitions of Greater Boston in 2010, which was a weekly workshop for job seekers, which ran for over 5 years. Prior to career coaching, Suzanne spent 20 years in the property and casualty insurance industry, as well as in management and business development roles. So all 30 of us or so, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Suzanne for joining us this afternoon. And Suzanne, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate the intro. And for those who have just joined us, we're asking that you put your questions into chat or hold them for later so that we can get through the content. And that may be how you always do these, don't know, but okay, so as Robert said, my name's Suzanne Gray. Let's talk a little bit more about my background. This is what is meant by a portfolio career. As we talked about already, I'm a career and franchise coach. I also do some outplacement coaching with a company called Career Curve. That's when a company hires a coach to help that employee get reemployed. So I spend a lot of time with people who are in career transition. And speaking of career transitions, that was the name of our group. I founded and facilitated that with a colleague of mine named Margie Bichetta. We did that for 5 years in Burlington, Mass. My husband and I, now we're switching into the other parts of my portfolio career. My husband and I own 5 investment properties, which I manage. And my husband owns Cape Cod Mosquito Squad. Mosquito Squad is a franchise. So drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, of getting into franchise ownership. My husband and I have owned that for about I think we're starting our 9th season. So, and just briefly, we have about 35 employees. We have 16 trucks. I think we're going to get another truck. And again, it's our territory is Cape Cod. And we do mosquito and tick remediation. So that's kind of what that's all about. For my volunteer work, I serve on the planning board, master plan steering committee currently, and workforce housing task force in my town, trying to study how we may be able to increase housing in our town of Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire. So I live in Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire, and in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, where Mosquito Squad is based. And of course, at the very end, yes, I did my time in corporate America, property and casualty for 20 years. So moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about the coronavirus because it's really, changed the way we look at things. We went through the Great Resignation. I think we may still be seeing some of that because there's so many people out there who want to work from home, and there's some companies that won't allow that to happen. But, in fact, I believe hybrid work is here to stay, and some employers have a different view. And so that's creating a situation where there's some transition in the job market where people are seeking out those employers who will let them work from home. It's also, by the way, sending some people my way to look at franchising or self-employment as a career option because the type of work they do requires them to be in the office. And for multiple reasons, they don't want to do that. They don't want to go back to the office. The economy is still booming. However, I am seeing contract work is the norm again. And when I say again, I'm referring to back in 2007, 2008, 2009, there were a lot of contract jobs that were being posted. And I'm finding that's what's going on again. While the corporations, sometimes they're trying to feel out what's going to be happening with the economy, that kind of thing. But on my outplacement work, I'm seeing that people are, getting work as contract employees. Mergers and acquisitions eliminate jobs. We know that. The banking industry may not be done with its, with what's going on there. And there may be new regulations that are put down. I mean, I'm not here to, to talk about the banking industry specifically, but when the banking industry goes through turmoil, it affects and trickles down to other parts of the economy. We have lots of general labor and entry-level professional jobs, but the people that I work with that are at the higher level roles, they are having some challenges finding jobs. And, we always are questioning, is ageism still an issue, right? So are we really through this pandemic? I don't know. I'm still hearing about people coming down with COVID-19, and many people are wearing masks still, understandably. Hybrid work is here to stay. So we're going through some growing pains or some adjustment pains, I think, with that, as I already talked about. Employee burnout doubled in 18 months between September of 2020 and March of 2022. And Zoom fatigue, for people that are on Zoom or, whatever, Google Meet, whatever the choice is, it's real. Staring at our own faces for many hours a day can get tiring, so it's been suggested that to reduce that fatigue when you're on, look down, write notes, get up and walk around, or join the conversation so that you don't get, fatigued by all this Zoom. And employers need to find ways to offer hybrid work while being mindful of the extra strain that's involved. So we're still going through this transition period. Okay. So last week, I went to a workshop that was held, I believe, by Encore Boston and over 50 job seekers, but I'm not sure exactly who hosted it, but I signed up for it, and other people on this call may have attended it. But I thought it was really interesting, some of the things that were being discussed. Ofer Sharon is a professor at UMass. He was at MIT School of Management previously, and he's done studies of the unemployed. And I actually worked with him in 2013 on a study he was doing on coaching, career coaching, and that effect on helping people get back to work. And that study showed clearly that the one-on-one coaching was effective, more effective in helping people get back to work. But the other thing that he said last week was that meetings like this networking group, you cannot underestimate the assistance that you get from being around people and who also are in career transition or want to be in career transition. And that it's very helpful to talk to others about what you're feeling, what you're going through. So, kudos to Robert. He's been doing this for a really long time. I don't want to age him, but he has been doing this for a long time. And it's a great service. And there are other groups like this out there. So in Flawed System, Flawed Self, his book, what he was looking at was that there's a degree of self-blame in job seekers which may lead to people feeling disenfranchised or distraught feelings, and the tendency to, kind of give up or take a break from job seeking. And he dives into that a little bit further and talks that through. I just think it's an interesting phenomenon because I've seen it myself with people that I've worked with in outplacement coaching, and some people on this call may also sometimes get that fatigue from your job search. The stigma trap, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this book, the stigma trap, is because coaches like me and people you talk to will say, you get a job by networking, right? I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard that. And that's what we say. But some coaches, what he was saying to me personally was, some coaches don't understand how difficult that may be for some job seekers to actually go out there and network. And there's a lot to it. And it's not as easy as it may sound from the outside. And he talked about that. And also he talked about there's a finite group of people that you can network with. And so, it is about trying to break into a company, get your name recognized or your resume recognized in a company. But if you have to do that to network, that's difficult for some people. And he talks that through in the stigma trap. So I wanted to just call those books to your attention. But again, what he says is these job seeking groups, the support you get, the information that's shared, the fact that you get to meet other people that you would not normally get to meet, it's extremely valuable. Okay, so let's switch gears now and talk about self-employment and franchises as a career option. So franchising is the method of practicing and using another person or another organization's perfected business concept. So that's what a franchise is. Everybody thinks it's McDonald's and Burger King, but it's in all different aspects. And I'll go into that in just a couple of minutes. But in every franchise, what you're doing is you're implementing somebody else's system, a system for how they operate their business, how they market their business, everything, hiring the employees, what kind of employees you want, the whole thing. And a franchisee, so that's somebody like Kurt, my husband and I are franchisees of Mosquito Squad, is granted the right to market a product or service under the system using that trademark, logo, advertising. Those are all owned by the franchisor, and the franchisee has the right to use them. So let's talk about small businesses in general. Small businesses, independent businesses, oftentimes are not successful. And why is that? Michael Gerber, in his book, E-Myth Revisited, talks about this. He says, just because you're a software developer and you know how to create a platform does not mean that you know how to run a business, right? Just like a chef, oftentimes the chefs are really good restaurant owners, but sometimes they're not because they don't understand how to manage a business. They know how to do the technical work. So success means operating a business and often leaving the technical work to other people. So why are franchisees more successful than independent businesses? They offer training, professional guidance, initial and ongoing. So they know how to run this business. They teach you how to run the business. So you're not just going out on your own and trying to figure it all out. It saves you time, and overall, it saves you money as well. It's a proven image and product, the service and the operating system. They've ramped up so many others that are just like yours that they know how to do it. They have business and operational systems that are used, marketing and sales power, many levels of support, including other franchisees. So when you're in a franchise, you get to know the other franchise owners, and you have a person to call when you have a question, because it's likely they've been through it. Also, you can call the franchisor, but the franchisee support is extremely powerful. So speaking of power, purchasing power. So when you're buying product, you're buying product for, under that company. So with Mosquito Squad, I'll just go back to that. When we're buying oil to, we use some essential oil to in our services. There are other franchisees that are purchasing that as well. So there's a discount because of so much purchasing power, because there's 300 or so, about 300 mosquito squads across the country. And we deal with just a few people who distribute the products that we use. So we get discounts on those. And of course, it's a win-win situation, having a team behind you to assist you in turbulent times. And we like to say franchising is in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So these are all things that are available in a franchise that aren't in independent business. But I'm going to also talk about things to think about if you're thinking about independent business too. But I'm just going to continue on with franchises just a little bit further. So the first kind of franchises is a sole contributor. This is a client of mine here. It's Peter Burson. I met him through a networking group just like yours. He lives in Massachusetts, and he's got a home-based business, flexible hours, and networking to find his clients. He's a consultant for digital marketing is what he does. Next down is, and you can see the investment levels too. I put the investment levels next to these kind of different categories. Service business, home-based or starts out home-based, or Class B office space. It's a mobile business, strong marketing programs. So the marketing programs make the phone ring, right? So it's a service business, which is like, for example, Mosquito Squad. You can see my husband here with some of his team. And this is a client of mine over here in a Totally Nuts franchise. They serve nuts at different events, fairs, festivals, and that kind of thing. But they have strong marketing programs to send the customers to you. You have employees, and it's easy to expand and COVID friendly as well, because home services were not shut down during COVID. So, and to expand, it's easy to expand because you can bring on more trucks and more employees, and you can operate it from one location. You don't have to build out another, it's not like building out another restaurant, so to speak. So a small box is what we call a retail or business to business. You work in the business or hire a manager, whichever whichever the business model actually, what they recommend from the franchisor. You set hours, customers come to your location. You may get into property ownership with that kind of business. Examples of that might be Elements Massage, sign businesses, printing businesses, and other brick and mortar businesses that are stationary, right? And then the investor or that where you have a manager in place. This is Steve Tebow. He's a client of mine. He invested in Great Clips probably like, I think 8 years ago, something like that. He's got 4 locations, 2 in Rhode Island and 2 in New Hampshire. I'm there at his location in Concord, New Hampshire. So it's multiple locations, and typically it's a brick and mortar. I say no job for the owner. He's overseeing the bookkeeping and, gets involved in HR issues when necessary, but he has managers for the day-to-day management. And on his phone, on his handy cell phone, he can see at any of his 4 locations, how much business they've done today, how long people are waiting to see one of his hairstylists. He can see how much product they've sold. he, he can see what's going on financially, but also he has cameras. So he can be anywhere and see what's going on in his business. He and I, we met up, he and his significant other and Kurt and I met up and we went skiing in March. And, he knew exactly what was going on with his businesses. It's very interesting. Strategic is an area developer type of role where you oversee franchisees that are in a certain region. And it requires a higher degree of business acumen, somebody who's been, had that kind of role in the past. That coaching franchisees to be successful, large geographic area. They may or may not own a unit themselves. So those are the types of business models gives you an idea of the investment levels. I'm not going to go way deep down into everything that's involved in those investment levels. If you want more information on that, certainly I can share that with you. But in the interest of time, we're not going to take too deep of a dive there. So whether it's a business or a franchise that you're thinking about, it should be a vehicle to help you achieve your personal goals, okay, and your professional goals. Many people say to me that they want control over their own destiny or freedom and independence. They want to build and manage their own team, not somebody else's team that they had to take over, for instance. Build equity, personal, professional satisfaction, make a difference, leave a legacy, and obviously build equity. We've already said that, and enjoy lifestyle. So I've got a couple that I'm working with, a husband and wife team, and they actually heard about me through one of these types of groups, the over 50 job seekers group, I believe. And their goals are, he's got an aging mother and he wants to spend more time with her. During COVID, he was able to work from home, but now he's commuting about an hour and a half each way to work, and he goes 4 days a week. And, that's just totally wearing him out. So, and she works for a business that she feels, has maybe hitting some bumps in the road. And so she wants to be control of where her career goes next. So interesting. So I just use these as examples of what your goals may be, but it's a very personal type of reason why you're thinking about business ownership. And what you want to do if you're thinking about this is really keep that in mind as you're going through the process of thinking about what business you want. So will this business help me make a difference or leave a legacy, right? So, okay. So when considering business ownership, here are some of the things that I'd like you to think about. Now, Robert's going to record this. So I think he's going to send you out the recording. So you'll have this. So don't feel like you have to write it all down. But I just want to pick out a few of these to talk about right now. So what are my transferable skills? What are my areas of strengths? And where do I need support, right? And why is that important? Because when you get into business ownership, if you can leverage those strengths that you have, those skills that you have, it's one less thing you need to learn. There are lots of things to think about when you're thinking about business ownership, but you want to be in a position where you have some things that come naturally to you, right? Because that'll make that section of it be, much easier. What do I want my typical day to look like, right? Where do I want to work? What type of work do I enjoy doing? So some of this is how much income do I want to make? But also, if you're going to make a change like this, you want to do something that you find enjoyable, right? Something where you are not dragging yourself out of bed in the morning, but you're hopping out of bed saying, what's today going to bring me? Do I have the self-discipline needed? And that's about not having somebody always looking over your shoulder, but there are things that you just need to make happen. And, do I like to be in charge? Am I a problem solver? Right. So all these things are important when you're thinking about business ownership. And this is what I help my clients walk through. But if anybody wants a copy of just this page, you can shoot me an email. I'll give you my email address at the end. And I have this separate on a piece of paper. Well, it's electronic. I'm not that old. But anyway, I can help you get to a point of clarity with all these things. And some people I work with, it happens that they work with me and then they decide they don't want to go further into business ownership. It's just not for them. And that's okay. That's a point of clarity, right? So that you can focus on what you do want to do, how you do want to spend your time. Okay, so here is my contact information, my LinkedIn. Please link in with me. There's no cost to have me help you think through if you want to pursue business ownership. My process is very much like a career coach's. I am a career coach. That's a process I take you through. And then what we do is we look to see what businesses may be a good fit for you. I have LinkedIn recommendations on my LinkedIn. I think the most recent recommendation was also from somebody I met in a group like this, who, when he actually researched franchising, he said, you know what, I really want a job. It's just not, I really, it's interesting. It may be great for some people, but not for me, or not for me at this time. And that's okay. So it's okay if you want to talk with me if you don't know it's something that you're interested in. But if it is, then I help you figure out which business model makes sense for you, what kind of business, so that you can leverage those skills, so that you can meet those goals, etc. So that's it. I keep it short and sweet because I want to make sure I left enough time for questions. And Robert, I don't see the chat, so maybe you can help me with that.
Absolutely.